How ancient humans survived without food for days. 3 days without food. No hunt successful. The territory empty. The animals gone. Children crying from hunger. Elders growing weak. And tomorrow promised nothing. This wasn't a disaster. This was Tuesday. For ancient humans living on the edge of what the land could provide. Going days without food was not unusual. It was expected. It was prepared for. And surviving it required knowledge that most people today have completely forgotten. First, understand the actual situation. Ancient humans didn't eat 3 meals a day. That concept didn't exist. They ate when food was available, sometimes abundantly, sometimes barely, sometimes not at all. Their bodies were built for this, not by choice, by generations of adaptation. An ancient body experiencing 2 or 3 days without food was not in crisis. It was operating exactly as designed. The crisis came later, much later, and ancient humans knew exactly how to push that crisis further away. The first strategy was fat, not the kind we avoid today, the kind ancient humans pursued deliberately, aggressively, whenever a large animal was killed. The organs came first: liver, kidneys, heart, rich in fat, dense in nutrition. The bone marrow came next. Ancient humans cracked every single bone of every single kill to access the marrow inside. This wasn't being wasteful. This was being precise. Bone marrow is pure fat, pure calories, the most energy-dense food available. An ancient human who consumed enough marrow after a successful hunt was storing fuel in their own body, fuel that would burn slowly through the days of nothing that always followed. The body running on fat stores doesn't feel hunger the way we think, not immediately, not sharply. It feels a slow reduction in energy, in sharpness, in speed, but not the panicked, desperate hunger of a body that has never learned to run on reserves. Ancient human bodies were adapted to this rhythm. Feast followed by fast, fast followed by feast. The body knew how to wait. The second strategy was movement reduction. This sounds simple. It wasn't simple to execute. When food runs out, every unnecessary movement burns calories that the body cannot replace. Ancient hunters understood this with mathematical precision. A hunt that costs more energy than it yields is worse than no hunt. A 3-day journey to a hunting ground that turns out to be empty is potentially fatal. Decisions about where to hunt, how far to travel, what prey to pursue were made with energy mathematics that no ancient human consciously calculated, but every ancient human understood. Instinctively, the third strategy was plants, and here the knowledge becomes extraordinary. Ancient humans in almost every environment knew which plants were edible in their specific territory, not generally edible, specifically edible, in this valley, in this season, at this level of development, because a plant that was safe to eat in summer could be toxic in autumn. A root that was nutritious when cooked could be deadly when raw. This knowledge wasn't written, it lived in specific people, the plant specialists, usually women in hunter-gatherer groups, who carried in their memory a complete botanical understanding of every living thing that grew within their territory. When animal food failed, this knowledge kept the group alive. There were specific plants that ancient humans ate specifically during food scarcity, plants with high caloric density, not delicious, not preferred, but edible and sustaining. Certain roots that could be dug even in dry conditions. Certain bark that contained nutrients when other things failed. Certain insects, larvae, and grubs that provided protein when larger animals were unavailable. Ancient humans were not picky. Picky was a luxury. Picky was something that people who never went hungry could afford. Insects deserve specific attention because they were a critical food source, and they are almost completely forgotten today. Insects are extraordinarily efficient protein sources. Certain beetle larvae, certain ant species, certain types of grubs, available even when the landscape seemed bare of everything else. Ancient humans knew where to find them, under specific bark, in specific soil conditions, near specific plant types. A group that knew how to harvest insects could survive conditions that would seem completely foodless to an observer who didn't know where to look. Water management was critical. Hunger is survivable for days. Dehydration kills faster. Ancient humans facing food scarcity never allowed themselves to become dehydrated, even if it meant drinking water. That tasted wrong. That came from sources they would normally avoid, because a body, already stressed by food scarcity, dehydrated on top of that, failed quickly. The discipline of maintaining hydration when food was absent was non-negotiable. Rest was a survival strategy, not laziness, not giving up. Deliberate, controlled rest when the body has limited fuel available. Every hour of activity draws from those reserves. Ancient humans who understood this rested during the hottest part of the day, when energy expenditure for temperature regulation was highest, moved in cooler hours when the body worked more efficiently. This wasn't intuition, this was knowledge, tested and confirmed by generations of people who had survived exactly this situation before. The group shared what little existed. This is perhaps the most important factor, and it's the one that surprises people most. Ancient human groups didn't hoard during scarcity. The evidence consistently shows food sharing was stronger during periods of scarcity, not weaker. The logic was survival mathematics. A group where one person hoards and others weaken is a group that loses hunting ability, that loses gathering ability, that loses the collective strength needed to find the next food source. A group that distributes scarcity evenly stays collectively functional longer, stays alive longer. The group that shared everything could function. The group that didn't. Fragmented and fragmented groups in the ancient world were groups that died. Children and the most vulnerable members were protected first, not because ancient humans were sentimental, because they were practical. A child who survived food scarcity would be a hunter in 5 years, a gatherer in 3, a knowledge carrier in 10. Protecting the young was protecting the future of the group itself. Mothers going without food to give what little existed to children wasn't selfless sacrifice. It was the group investing in its own survival. Ancient humans also read the landscape for signs of coming food. When the hunting territory was empty, it meant animals had moved, not disappeared. They moved for reasons: water, seasonal food, migration patterns. An experienced tracker could read the empty landscape and understand which direction the animals had gone, how many days ahead, how to intercept the migration at a point where the territory changed, and the animals would slow. This wasn't magic. It was knowledge built over decades of watching the land and understanding its patterns. The hunt that ended food scarcity was often not the dramatic charge, not the spectacular ambush. It was the patient calculation, the group moving carefully, conserving energy, reading every sign, moving toward where the animals were, not where they had been. And when the moment finally came, there was no wasted effort. Every person in position, every approach calculated, every possible failure anticipated, because these people couldn't afford to fail. The cost of a failed hunt, when the group was already weakened by days of scarcity, was not frustration, was not inconvenience. It was death, slow or fast. It was death. And when the hunt succeeded, the group didn't celebrate with waste. They celebrated with precision. Every piece of that animal was used, every calorie extracted, every bone cracked, every organ consumed. And as they ate, as the strength slowly returned to bodies that had been running on reserves for days, they didn't think about how close it had been. They thought about the next hunt, the next plant to watch, the next source of water, the next strategy for the next time the land went quiet and the hunger came back, because it always came back, and they were always ready.